The Toronto Raptors are awful right now, guys. That's the reality of this team. They have lost 11 games in a row, and quite frankly, they are the worst team in basketball. This has just been a horrendous stretch. It is the worst 6-game span in franchise history, according to Blake Murphy, who did a great job of tracking everything. The Raptors just lost by a franchise record 54 points to the Boston Celtics. Guys, we have 49 more games of this. This is an insanely difficult watch right now. I put it out on X. The Raptors started looking terrible last season after the All-Star break. This has started earlier this season, and they're entering 2025 playing historically their worst ball as a franchise. Like, this has just been horrible. Just some of the things that we have seen out there, the turnovers, the poor defensive effort. I mean, in this game against the Celtics, this was actually a 10-point game at halftime. And then, just like that, in the blink of an eye, the Celtics exploded. The Raptors allowed Boston to score 45 points in that third quarter. Per Krathika, the Raptors' last 4 third quarters, they allowed 41 to the Knicks, 43 to the Grizzlies, 40 to the Hawks, and then 45 to the Celtics as they completely blew the Raptors out of the building. And the Raptors actually held the Celtics to 45 points in the first half, but to hell with that, right? The Raptors just completely got walked all over in the second half of this game. I don't know what on earth this performance was, but this looked like just a horrendous team. The Raptors are now 1-15 on the road. They're 7-26 overall. It's hard to find positives. Like, before, the Raptors were losing, but at least these games were watchable. At least they were ethically tanking. These games were coming down to the wire, but I don't know what has gone on, but you can simply tell they are demoralized. The energy is low because this last span of games, it has been absolutely brutal to watch. You know, giving up 155, which was a franchise record to the Grizzlies, losing by a franchise record 54 points in this one, just continuously allowing their opponents to do whatever they want, it seems, offensively. This has just been a brutal stretch of games. And the Raptors, their offense was a chore in this one. Like, this was horrible. Like, the Raptors put up 12 points in the first quarter. I believe they started something like 0 for 12 from 3. Then they somewhat made it a game, like I said, you know, going down by just 10 entering halftime. But then they only put up 18 points in the third and fourth quarters, respectively. Like, that is simply unacceptable. They shot 31% from the field. They were 25% from 3, 10 for 40 in this game. It is crazy to see how much this team has fallen off over the span. And again, the turnovers an issue. They had 31 the last game, one shy of a franchise record. They had 21 in this game. So nothing is trending upwards for this team. And obviously, when you look at this year in a nutshell, it will be summed up by basically this graphic, which I find insane because clearly health is the main culprit why the Raptors have just been a tough watch. You look at the health factor, it has not been there for this team. Like, 2024 in a nutshell, guys. Ready? This is insane to me. The Raptors projected starting 5 of Quickley, Dick, Barrett, Barnes, Pirtle have played a total of 4 minutes in the year of 2024. So, look, that is good in terms of the Raptors tank, and I've spoken largely about where I stand when it comes to this Raptors tank, and quite frankly, you can't tell me this isn't a tank right now. But at the same time, it is frustrating because I think Raptors fans are at a point now where they want to see what this group looks like. And really, the Raptors, they haven't had an opportunity to properly evaluate what they have. Because I know we're all talking about what this team can become and the possibility of adding a top 3 pick and how good this team looks on paper going into next season, but we don't know what this team looks like. And we haven't had a sample size of what this core looks like together with this projected starting 5. And that's the frustrating part. We haven't been able to see it, and for the Raptors, they haven't been able to properly evaluate what they have to see, okay, this is what works, this is not what works, this is what we need to add, this is what we're going to have to change. And that's the difficult part in all of this. It's like, yeah, this team has done a good job in the sense of losing a lot of these games and giving themselves a leg up in terms of the tankathon that's going to happen for the rest of the season. but you don't know what this team looks like at full strength. And I think it's unfair to all of a sudden ask this team to come together and then you add a top 5 pick and then expect them to perform when you're not building the foundation, you're not building the basics right now. So I don't know when this team is fully going to be healthy. Josh Lewenberg put this out on X because a lot of people are saying we just want an IQ update, and rightfully so, but Lewenberg basically said, like, I don't know when Quickley's coming back. He said, I've been getting a lot of this as if we're withholding Quickley updates. Update is there's no update. He tore his UCL in his elbow, a serious injury. That's rare in NBA, so there's no real blueprint for reference. Paul George missed 43 games, and Quickley has now missed 21. It takes time. And Lewenberg went on to say, my understanding is that IQ has been able to do more with his left arm recently, so that suggests progress is being made, but he still hasn't been cleared for contact or full practice, so a return isn't imminent. So that tells me IQ's not close to return. Like, we might not see IQ, guys, until after the All-Star break. It could be that serious. So expect probably this type of performance from the Raptors, right? Like, I know they were without Grady and Barrett in this one, but we've seen, like, in the previous games when they did have those players, even with Yak back now, this is not a good team at all. Like, they have just completely been demoralized, and it's starting to look like maybe Darko's starting to lose these guys too. And look, it's tough to keep your morale high. It's tough to keep the ethical tank high because let's call it for what it is. When you lose so many games, it is self-defeating. And it was only a matter of time until the Raptors were going to hit this wall, and it's hit them in a big way where they're not even able to put up respectable efforts anymore. It's just been blowout after blowout, and it seems like they're making some sort of dubious franchise history game in and game out now. And you look at the product on the floor, I mean, yeah, like, this one was a tough watch. They couldn't hit threes. Walter, he missed the dunk, which summed up the season. He was 1 for 10 from 3. Abaji, another rough game, 1 for 7 from 3. He's cooled off with that 3 ball. The Raptors just didn't have much of anything. And then, Bruce Brown, I guess, is somewhat of a bright spot because he is back and he played well in his first game back. And he got off to a good start in this one, but then he finished 2 for 7. And I guess with that, you just want to see him play so he kind of can restore that trade value. But overall, he had a rough go in this one. So there's not many positives right now for this team. Like Jakob Poeltl, I know he continues to do a good job on the glass, but his numbers have deflated big time to the Yak that we were seeing towards the beginning of the year. And then I saved them for last. Scotty Barnes, like, he's not playing good basketball right now. I know he's putting up the stats, but he's a minus 95 in his last 3 games. And really, this point Scotty experiment, it's time for it to go because Scotty as the de facto point guard, it has not been looking good. Scotty in his last 5 games, guys, has 27 assists to 24 turnovers. Not to mention, he's attempted 31 threes. So he's literally taken Darko's shoot more threes, literally. Like, he is shooting threes when you don't want him to be shooting threes because Scotty Barnes was 1 for 8 from 3 in this game with 6 more turnovers. So who knows if he's still hurt as well. Like, there was a play in this one where he was grimacing a little bit. And, Scotty, it's been a frustrating season for him in terms of the injuries. And Darko did say he is playing through the soreness. And I thought it was laughable that he was still out there in this game early in the 4th in such a blowout. But Scotty Barnes just has to get back to the basics. Like, yeah, he can put up these stats, but he's not impacting the game right now. And he's been frustrated, and the turnovers have been concerning. There was a pass at the beginning of this game. He got mad at Jacoby Walter, but that was his fault, forcing the pass. And even we saw another instance of that in the game before where he threw the ball at Jakob Poeltl's head when he wasn't looking. So I think he's forcing the issue too much. He was a minus 39 in this game. And I think it's more about the Raptors needing to have a true floor general out there and needing to have Quickley actually play because Barnes as a point guard, it just takes away from his game. When you have Scotty go to his natural position, it opens up his game more. But when he's playing point guard, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see him shooting these threes, being passive, not being aggressive. And clearly, like, the numbers are there. He is turning the ball over at an unprecedented rate right now. So hopefully, once he goes back to playing that forward role with a more traditional point guard out there, he looks a lot better. But right now, like, he's been struggling. I know the numbers are still, 16, 13, and that looks good on paper, but it's been a really rough go for Scotty. So hopefully he can limit the threes. You don't want him to play that point guard role, and hopefully that can come to an end once Quickley is back and he can show us the old Scotty. Because right now you're not gonna, you don't want to see this from your franchise guy. He has not been that initiator, that leader, that one option that you signed him up for with that contract. So that's what I'll say about Scotty. But again, the Raptors, health has been a main deficit for this team. Like, when you have guys miss so much time, it's hard to build chemistry together, and then you're eventually going to just hit a rough patch, and the Raptors are in that patch right now, and who knows how long it's going to go on for. With what the Raptors have shown us, I would not be surprised if these games continue to get worse, and I would not be surprised if the Raptors don't end up winning more than 50 games this season. It's been that rough, and Darko, I always said that he was the transitional coach. I think for right now, obviously, he's going to be the guy getting the player development, trying to go through this rough patch. This is a tough gig for anybody, but I do think, Darko is just the coach for now. I always thought he was kind of going to be that transitional coach where he's the guy who eats dirt with the Raptors through this rebuild, and then when they're ready to take that next step, they're going to have to look elsewhere, because Darko, I just get the sense now that he's starting to lose these guys too, which is not what you want to see. But again, it's a tough gig to ask any coach to be put in this position. It's a rough go for anybody. So yeah, the Raptors, they have not been a pretty watch at all, guys. And hopefully 2025 brings them some luck, and maybe Cooper Flag. That would be nice. But guys, let me know your thoughts when it comes to this team going into the new year. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is it for me. It's Luke signing off. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you all again in the next one.